Good evening, black spots.
We're gonna be going over some pretty ridiculous bruises, and I'm doing this all using the Skin Illustrator Effects palette. Now, as you guys can see, it says right on the front for blood, bruises, burns, and I think it says illnesses. I'm trying to read this upside down. And just like in the vein video, this is an alcohol-based palette. So that means in order to activate this palette, just like the water-based colors, you're going to need a bottle of 99% alcohol. Without spraying these colors with alcohol, they simply will not go anywhere. You guys definitely can use this video and just use different, like maybe cream colors from the Halloween store, and just use the same colors in the same application to make these bruise effects, but it'll just look like it's sitting more on top of your skin instead of underneath your skin. The Skin Illustrator palettes come in multiple different palettes, but this is definitely the best one for bruising effects. And you guys can find the vein video also using a different Skin Illustrator palette right here. Now, in my vein video, I was also asked about how to do this on dark skin. These Skin Illustrator palettes are made for all skin types because they're meant to be made to look realistic. As well as all the water-based paints that I use all the time, they can go on any skin color. When creating bruises, you're gonna want to have these like Cosmetic Sponges. You guys can get these at like Walgreens. I also just got my nails done nice and Halloween-like. But if you guys do have these kinds of nails, they're actually beneficial for making the little holes in the sponges that you're going to have to make. And just so you guys can really see what's going on, I'm just tearing out these little tiny holes in the bottom of this sponge. I feel like I've got a little bit of Freddy Krueger going on with these nails and these sponges. Like, see you in your nightmare, sponges. But the reason you want to make all these holes in the sponges is because the makeup is not going to necessarily sit in all these holes that you just made, but it's going to go along all these lines that you've now created, which are going to make veins. So as you guys can see, when I was making a bruise with this sponge, the color is more concentrated in these lines than it is in the holes. So these lines actually ultimately make your capillaries, while these other holes that don't have as much color in them and more alcohol are making kind of like the background of your bruise. To start off with a really fresh bruise, I'm using a lot of alcohol in the color Bruise tone and just kind of mapping out where that bruise is going to go. When I make bruises, I like to make them more irregular because you're not really gonna have like a perfectly shaped bruise. I mean, I guess you could depending on like what you hit, like a doorknob, but generally bruises are a little bit more irregular. I'm then going to be going in with a little bit more of the color and less alcohol and just making it more concentrated on where the impact actually happened. And you guys can see just with one color alone how much the little holes in the sponges make it look like a lot of little broken capillaries. It really helps just generally break up the color. And really, if it's a super fresh bruise, you could probably just go in with Bruise tone alone and just layer it with less and less alcohol. Or you could also go in with Ultra Blue and layer it more in the impact area. I also like to go in with just a lot of alcohol on my sponge and kind of create like a weird little hole in the middle of all this happening, because I know whenever I get a bruise, I always have like this really strange kind of like hole. It also helps to break up the colors. I think adding this hole in the middle of your bruise also helps with a little bit of like a swelling effect, because it's almost like a highlight and then a ring of contouring around it. So just using those two colors alone, that's how you guys can do a really super simple, very effective, super fresh, obviously I don't know what you did here, but you really messed yourself up somehow, type of bruise. But when you're done freaking out your friends and tricking them into thinking you have the most ridiculous bruise ever, you can always remember that you could just take it right off with some alcohol and confuse them even further. If you're going for more of a I'm halfway healed kind of bruise, I'm going to start out with prime yellow and a lot of alcohol. I'm once again just making an irregular shape. Once that dries, I'm going to go in with even less alcohol and a little bit more of the actual color. I'm then going to go in using green and a lot of alcohol and concentrating it more around the impact point. Just like the other bruises, I'm then going in with Bruise tone and a lot of alcohol and concentrating it solely on the impact point. And then going in with a little bit less alcohol. A little bit of alcohol by itself. The partially healed bruises, in my opinion, are the grossest because they've got a lot of colors going on. I'm then going in with even less alcohol and the same Bruise tone and just concentrating this mostly in one little spot. Just like the previous bruise, I'm then going in with Ultra Blue and a lot of alcohol. And I'm then just going in and adding some more yellow around that, make it a little bit more gross looking. is obviously the most intense bruise you have ever had in your entire life. Hopefully, I don't know what you guys do in your free time. I'm then gonna spray this with a little bit of alcohol and just go over it with a sponge with almost no color in it, just to blend these out a little bit more. And because this is Halloween, of course, we're going to stay with a little bit more of a dramatic effect. This type of half-healed bruise is really going to help you with zombie bites and infections. The last bruise I'm going to show you guys is going to be a almost completely healed bruise, and I'm going right in with prime yellow and a lot of alcohol. Taking less alcohol in the same prime yellow, I'm going in with another layer. I'm then going in with green and a lot of alcohol and concentrating that more around the impact points. And then I'm just spraying this with the alcohol and breaking it up. I'm also just gonna add a little bit of bruise tone in there as well, just for a little bit more of an impact. And just like the fresh bruise, the almost healed bruise is pretty much like super easy to do.